If, as the Japanese saying goes, one kind word can warm 3 winter months, think how many winter months were warmed by this single act of kindness. You don't have to look far to find opportunities for small acts of kindness. A young man named Lee, who was taught about the RBA, related this. I'm the junior class president at my school. I decided to try the small kindness deposit I learned about by putting a simple note in the boxes of just the student body officers I didn't know well. I told them that I appreciated the work they did. They took me about 5 minutes to write up. The next day, one of the girls I'd written a note to came up to me and abruptly gave me a big hug. She thanked me for the note and handed me a letter and a candy bar. The note said that she had a terrible day. She had a great deal of stress and was very depressed. My small note had turned her whole day around, helping her to happily accomplish the things that had caused her so much grief. The strange thing was that I had hardly known her when I gave her the note, and I was sure that she didn't like me anyway because she never really paid any attention to me. What a surprise! I couldn't believe how much a simple note meant to her. Small acts of kindness don't always have to be one-on-one. You can also team up with others to make a deposit. I remember reading about a deposit the kids at Joliet Township Central High School near Chicago made in the life of an unsuspecting teenage girl named Lori when they crowned her homecoming queen. You see, unlike most of the students at Joliet, Lori had a disability and made her way around the school in a motorized wheelchair. Because of cerebral palsy, her words were often difficult to understand and her movements uneasy. Everyone at school knew her as super sweet and friendly. After being nominated for Homecoming Queen by students in Business Professionals of America, Lori made the first cut when students narrowed the slate to 10. At a pep rally soon after, it was announced that she had won. The entire student body of 2,500 started chanting, "Lori! Lori!" A day later, people were still grinning at her in the hallways and leaving roses at her locker. When asked how long she intended to wear her crown, Lori answered, "Forever." Follow the golden rule and treat others as you would want them to treat you. Think about what a deposit means to someone else, not what you would want as a deposit. A nice gift may be a deposit for you, but a listening ear may be a deposit for another person. If you ever have something nice to say, don't let that thought just rot. Say it. As Ken Blanchard wrote in his book, The 1-Minute Manager, unexpressed good thoughts aren't worth squat. If you're unsure whether you should approach someone, just remember how good it'll make them feel to receive a compliment. Don't wait until people are dead to give them flowers. Be loyal. As a junior in high school, I'll never forget watching a high school basketball game with my friend Eric. I began making fun of one of the players who always sat on the bench. He was a nice guy and had always been good to me, but a lot of other kids made fun of him, so I thought I would too. It made Eric laugh. After I dissed this kid for several minutes, I happened to turn around, and to my horror, saw this kid's younger brother sitting right behind me. He had overheard everything. I'll never forget the look of betrayal on his face. Quickly turning back around, I sat quietly for the rest of the game. I felt like a total jerk, about 1 foot tall. I learned an important lesson about loyalty that night. One of the biggest RBA deposits you can make is to be loyal to other people, not only when they're around, but more especially when they aren't around, when they're not present. When you talk behind people's backs, you're only hurting yourself in 2 ways. First, you make a withdrawal from everyone who hears your comments. If you hear me trash Ethan when Ethan isn't there to defend himself, what do you think I'm going to do to you when you're not present? That's right, I might be gossiping about you too. Second, when you badmouth or gossip, you make what I call an invisible withdrawal from the person you're attacking. Have you ever sensed that someone's been trashing you behind your back? You didn't hear it, but you can feel it? It's strange, but true. If you sweet-talk people when they're facing you, but trash-talk them when their backs are turned, don't think they won't feel it. It somehow gets communicated. Gossiping is a huge problem among teens, stereotypically among girls, but guys do it too. Everyone does it. Guys often prefer other methods of attack. We call them fists, but girls seem to stick to words. Why is gossiping so popular? For one thing, you hold someone's reputation in the palms of your hands, and that's a powerful feeling. For another, We gossip because we're insecure, afraid, or threatened. That's why gossipers usually like to pick on people who look different, think different, are self-confident, or stand out in some way. But isn't it kind of silly to think that tearing someone else down builds you up? Gossip's rampant online. You see photos of what everyone's up to, and it's easy to feel jealous or excluded. It can bring out a desire to tear other people down. Gossip and rumors probably have destroyed more reputations and relationships than every other bad habit combined. This story, told by my friend Annie, illustrates their venomous power. The summer after high school graduation, my best friend Tara and I were dating two really cool guys. They were best friends, and we were best friends, so we'd all go out together. One weekend, Tara and my boyfriend Sam both went out of town with their families. Tara's boyfriend, Will, texted me and said, "Hey, let's go see a movie since Tara and Sam are out of town, and we have nothing else to do." We truly went out only as friends. Will knew that, and I knew that. Of course, someone saw us at the movies and misinterpreted the situation. Well, in a small town, things have a tendency to grow. When Tara and Sam returned, and even before I had a chance to talk to my best friend or my boyfriend, photos of us together were out. There was no pulling back the stories and rumors. When I called to say hi to them, I got a frigid blast of Arctic air. There was no explaining. There was no communication. My best friend and my boyfriend chose to believe the pictures of us hanging out somehow proved that Will and I were cheating on them. I learned a really tough lesson about loyalty that summer that I have never forgotten nor even gotten over, and to this day my once best friend still won't talk to me. In the above catastrophe, it seemed to me that a little loyalty and trust would have solved a lot of the problem. So just what is it that makes a loyal person? Loyal people keep secrets. When people share something with you and ask you to keep it just between you and me, then for goodness sake, keep it just between you and them, instead of running out and telling every last soul on GChat every juicy detail as if you had no control of your bodily functions. If you enjoy being told secrets, then keep them secret, and you'll get a lot more of them told to you. Loyal people avoid gossip. Have you ever been hesitant to leave a party because you're afraid someone might start gossiping about you? Don't let others think that about you. Avoid gossip like the plague. Think well of others and give them the benefit of the doubt. This doesn't mean that you can't talk about other people, just do it in a constructive way. Remember, strong minds talk about ideas, weak minds talk about people. Loyal people stick up for others. The next time a group starts gossiping about another person, either refuse to participate in the gossip or stick up for that person. You can do so without sounding self-righteous. Katie, a senior in high school, shared this story. One day in my English class, my friend Matt started talking about a girl I knew in my neighborhood, although we'd never been close friends. His friend had taken her out to a dance, and so he started saying things like, "She is such a snot, and she is so ditzy." I turned around and said, "Excuse me, but Kim and I have grown up together, and I think she's one of the sweetest people I've ever met." After I said it, I was kind of surprised at myself. I had actually been struggling to get along with her. Even though Kim never knew what I said about her, my attitude toward her changed, and we became really close friends. Matt and I are still good friends. I think he knows he can count on me to be a loyal friend. Steering clear of gossip pile-on takes courage. But after the initial discomfort it may cause you, people will admire you. They'll recognize that you're loyal to the core. I'd make an extra effort to be loyal to your family members, since these relationships will last a lifetime. As illustrated so well in A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh Classics, people need to feel safe and secure in relationships. Piglet sidled up behind Pooh. "Pooh," he whispered. "Yes, Piglet?" "Nothing," said Piglet, taking Pooh's paw. "I just wanted to be sure of you." Listen. Listening to someone can be one of the single greatest deposits you can make into another's RBA. Why? Because not enough people these days listen. Furthermore, listening can heal wounds, as it did in the case of this 15-year-old named Tawny. At the beginning of the year, I was having communication troubles with my parents. They were not listening, and I was not listening. It was one of those "I'm right and you're wrong" kind of things. I would come in late and just go to bed, and in the morning I would have breakfast and go to school and not say anything. I went to see my cousin who is older than me and in her 20s and said, I need to talk to you. We went for a drive across town so we could be alone. She listened to me freak out and cry and scream for 2.5 hours. She really helped me a lot because she just listened to all of it. She was optimistic that it would be all right and suggested that it might help if I tried to win back my parents' trust. I have been trying to see things from their point of view lately. We are not fighting anymore, and things are getting back to normal. People need to be listened to almost as much as they need food. And if you'll take time to feed them, you'll create some fantastic friendships. We'll talk about listening a lot more when we get to Habit 5, Seek First to Understand, then to be understood. It's up just ahead. Say you're sorry. Saying you're sorry when you yell, overreact, or make a stupid mistake can quickly restore an overdrawn bank account. But it takes guts to go to a friend and say, look, I was wrong. I apologize. Or I'm sorry. It's especially hard to admit that you made a mistake to your parents because, of course, you know so much more than they do. 17-year-old Lena had this to say. I know from experience how much an apology means to my parents. It's like they forgive me for almost anything and are ready to start over if I admit my mistakes and apologize. But that doesn't mean it's easy to do. I recall one night recently when my mother confronted me with something she didn't approve of that I had done. I didn't fess up to any of it. On the contrary, I ended up acting like they were total jerks and slamming the door to my room right in front of my mother's nose. As soon as I got inside my room, I felt sick about it. I realized I probably had known all along I was wrong and that I had been extremely rude. Should I just stay in my room and go to bed and hope it will blow over? Or should I go upstairs and apologize? I waited about 2 minutes and then took the high road and went straight to my mom, gave her a big hug, and told her how sorry I was for acting that way. It was the best thing I could have ever done. Immediately, it was as though it had never happened. I felt light and happy and ready to concentrate on something else. Don't let pride or a lack of courage stand in the way of saying you're sorry to people you may have offended. It's never as scary as it seems, and it'll make you feel so good afterward. In addition, apologies disarm people. Think about it. When people get offended, their tendency is to take up a sword, so to speak, to protect themselves in the future. But when you apologize, you take away their desire to fight you, and they will drop their swords. Clank! Seeing that you and I will continue to make mistakes the rest of our lives, saying you're sorry ain't too bad a habit to get hooked on.